Hey little one, I'm Jazz Chicken, and today we will be going further into the past and looking at a console that's older than your parents. This one is my brother's first console, and one I would eventually play in years to come. Although, technically it's not a console, it's a home computer, and its name was the Sinclair ZX Spectrum.
This is the ZX Spectrum, a small, very cheap computer that's found its way into more homes in Britain than any other. Now, there are many, many games designed for the ZX, but not many quite like this one. Ever since some real-life insects sabotaged an early computer, the word bug has been used to mean a problem in a program. This wickedly clever little game shows what bugs are all about. The sentences you see are the lines of a real computer program. Each flashing letter marks a gap in the program. Micromouse is out to plug those gaps. Bug monsters try and walk all over him and frequently succeed. There's just one letter left to fit in. Go on, pal. Go for it. Go on, pal. Once the letter's in, the program's complete, and it tells the computer to do something spectacular. This ingenious and educational game is called Micromouse Goes Debugging. It's from MC Lothlorien and runs on the ZX Spectrum. Good, eh? Now, as opposed to one-armed bandits and such like, computer games don't normally try and make you think that you might actually win a lot of money from them. But this next one not only deludes you into thinking that you've got £200, but it then promptly takes it all straight back again. This cheeky chappie is Honest Clive, the bookmaker. Any resemblance to Clive Sinclair, the inventor of the Spectrum computers, is purely deliberate. You're off to the races, you've got £200 in your pocket, and it's time to place your bets. There's my nag on the far side at number 2, Mr. Spit. Believe me, my sons, this one is a dead cert. Grand National is an unusual and exciting game from Computer Rentals. Up to 5 players can play, and you can make the odds on the horses longer, shorter, or make them up. It runs on the ZX Spectrum. Come on, Mr. Spit, go on, look at him go. He's catching the leader. Come on, Mr. Spit, come on, come on. Stupid nag. A particularly atmospheric and absorbing game is called The Skull. You find yourself in a strange three-dimensional maze dotted with shimmering gold pieces, green crosses and bronze coins. You move on to these treasures to pick them up, and the idea is to collect as much treasure and points as you can without losing your lives. Oh, and try and watch out for the trapdoors. The colourful and creepy Skull is from Games Machine. It runs on the 48K Spectrum and will be out soon for the Commodore 64 and other home computers. One thing to remember is that the Skull can be deadly. It's very hard to put your finger on computer games. They're a bit like films. They're usually fun to watch. They're a bit like books. There's usually some sort of plot to unravel. They owe a lot to board games, but they owe a lot more to fairgrounds, mazes, and age-old puzzles. They're something new, and they're extremely hard to classify. I mean, what on earth would you call anything as completely balmy as this? This is the amazing manic miner on a seemingly impossible quest. The miner has to dodge and outwit all kinds of loony nasties, such as poisonous pansies, those rabid toilet pans, and of course the mutant telephones. Mutant telephones? Well, Manic Miner is a gamer's game full of weird in-jokes. It's also a sequence of brain-teasing tests, each an ace computer game in its own right. And every now and then you get a terrible sinking feeling as the floor crumbles beneath you. This wickedly clever game gives you 3 lives, and at the end of your 3rd life, you get the boot. Manic Miner is from Software Projects and is available on the Commodore 64 and the ZX Spectrum.
Tamponato 5 volte, sfasciato 2 macchine, ho fatto zigzag fra gli alberi e sono scoppiate le ruote.
Caspita, dove?
A Monte Carlo.
ZX Spectrum Sinclair, una gamma di computer per cominciare e per continuare, a casa tua. E oggi 8 programmi compresi nel prezzo.
Right, pay attention, Bond. This is the Sinclair ZX Spectrum Plus 2. It's a fully operational computer with 128K memory, but it comes with 3 James Bond games and a light gun that fires armor-piercing shells. Now that's your assignment. No, don't sit in that chair. Sorry, Bond. Haven't perfected that yet. The Sinclair ZX Spectrum Plus 2.
The new Sinclair Plus 3 with built-in disk drive, £199. Sinclair Plus 2, £139. Both with free joystick and 6 free games.
Once upon a time, there were 3 bears.
The 3 bears lived in the wood.
Learning Box is a new exciting series of computer programs to help your child start reading and counting. Get your child ready for school with Learning Box.
Rasputin from Firebird. Every software house is jumping on the 3D isometric graphic bandwagon, but none have been able to produce multi-action screens. Until now. The playability and beautifully recreated playing area will make you come back time and time again to Rasputin, one of Firebird's new hot range.
If your micro has joined the skateboard and hula hoop up in the attic, now's the time to get it down, dust it off and do something creative with it, like making music. Even the Spectrum with its limited sound facilities can make a good noise, provided you've got the right add-on. This here is the Spectrum, which comes from Cheetah. It costs £29.95 and at the moment it's only available from Boots. It plugs into the expansion port here at the back and it does need an amplifier. You see there's no onboard speaker. Well, you've just heard one of the 11 rhythm patterns supplied as part of the software, but the fun part is building up your own patterns. To do that, I select P from this menu page here, and now I've got a choice. I can either code the beats in, one at a time along these bars, bit academic that, or I can play it in real time, which I prefer to do. So, real time. Now, I've got 8 different drums here to play with. There's a kick, which is a bass drum, snare, tom-toms, cowbell, hi-hat, and so on. And I think I'll start off with the kick. That's the sensible one. So, write that. Now, it's got 2 bars there, which it's remembered, and it keeps playing them back to me. And I can alter that if I want to, but no, I'm quite happy with it. So I think I can add a snare on top of that. Here we go. A bit messy, but never mind. I could tidy it up later on. Now, I'll add something on top of that. A bit of cowbell there. That's voice 5. right, it'll remember that lot. I could build up more tracks if I want to. You've probably noticed that to a certain extent it's tidied up what I've done, so you don't really need to be a drummer at all to use it. In fact, it's rather like a word processor for drums. You can build up sequences as long and as complex as you like. At the moment, this is only available for the Spectrum, but they are hoping to bring out a version for the Amstrad early next year. Well, yes, thank you very much, Ringo.
I couldn't find many television ads for the Sinclair, but the ZX Spectrum was released in the UK on April 1982, 5 years before the Sega Master System. And although they are both 8-bit systems, it's amazing how games and systems evolved within a short space of time. It is said that the Spectrum was one of the most influential computers ever made, and also one of the best-selling of all time, selling a whopping 5 million units. However, growing up, I never met anyone who had even heard of the ZX Spectrum, let alone owned one. It's only now that I'm able to browse the internet can I see its dedicated fanbase from the retro gaming community. But even then, you would rarely see anyone choose to livestream Spectrum games, which, for me, I think is actually a shame, because there are a lot of good ones on there. To be fair though, with the wide array of retro games and consoles, I can see why the ZX Spectrum has become more of an acquired taste with gamers today. On the day of launch, there were 2 types of Spectrums being sold. One with a mere 16 kilobytes of RAM was shockingly sold for £125. The other option was a Spectrum with 48 kilobytes of RAM for £175. A year later, in 1983, they decided to lower the price. The 16 kilobyte system dropped to £99, and the 48 kilobyte system dropped to £129. Today, in 2024, the 16 kilobyte Spectrum would cost anywhere from £30 to £1,249.99p. But this one looks to have been modded, so it's no longer like the original vintage version. The 48 kilobyte Spectrum, however, is anywhere between £16.26p to £2,345.99p. You could buy 144 Spectrums for that price. The Spectrum was designed by a small team in Cambridge, located in the east of England, and was created by Sir Clive Sinclair. That's right, he's a Sir! Queen Elizabeth must have loved the ZX Spectrum too, because in 1983, 1 year after its release, Sir Clive Sinclair was knighted. Sadly, he has since passed away 3 years ago in September 2021. The reason it was called the Spectrum was to highlight the machine's color display, which differed from its predecessor at the time, the ZX81. Now you may be wondering, hey Jazz, where's the console? All I see is a keyboard. Well, what if I told you the keyboard is the console? Right, so well, where do you put the CDs? Well, this is 1982, CDs had not been invented yet. Alright, so where does the cartridge go? A good question, but cartridges were not used either. You'd be right to think it though, as video game cartridges were invented in 1976. Alright Jazz, stop stalling, how do you play the games? ZX Spectrum games ran on cassette tapes, the same product used to listen to music and record messages at the same time, like radio shows and podcasts like we did when we were children. Some models of the Spectrum had a cassette player built into the keyboard, but the one we had came with a separate cassette player dedicated to playing Spectrum games. We tried putting a music tape into it a few times, but all that happened was that it made a horrible screeching sound like some kind of screaming computer language. You know that old cheesy mixtape your mum made growing up? Or maybe not your mum, little one, but for anyone who's listening out there. Any of you that have parents who own mixtapes, what if I told you her cassette was hiding a broken save file of a Spectrum game? It was possible to record and save your game on any cassette tape, but for us it never actually worked. It would record onto it fine, but trying to load that save file, it would never work, no matter how much you adjust the volume. Yep, you heard me correctly. In order to load a game successfully, each game needed to be loaded on a specific volume. Some needed the cassette player to be loud, while others were quiet. All our games had bits of paper in their cases to remind us what volume to use. Without it, you need to be pretty dedicated to load a game. Everyone today, you all get so upset when something takes close to a minute to load. Oh, back in the day, eh? You youngsters. Well, the ZX Spectrum would often take anywhere between 4 minutes to half an hour to load. So you got no right to complain. Depending if you had it on the correct volume, that is. If you didn't, it would take even longer. Let me show you a little comparison to give you a better idea. Here is how you would load a PC game today in 2024. Here is a PS5 CD game. PS4, the PS3, 2 and 1. Sometimes when the PlayStation is not working, you have to turn it upside down in order for the disc to actually work. With the NES, you put in the cartridge and then you have to actually push it down for it to work. Mega Drive and Master System. The original Master System had a little card slot for the older Sega games. And here is the ZX Spectrum. To load a game, you would first insert the cassette and close the case. Alright, so far so good. Make sure to rewind the cassette though if you've played it last, otherwise it's not going to work. Okay. Well, the tape has come out and it's a little chewed up in the player. Alright, so carefully remove the cassette, make sure you don't break the tape, get a pencil or a pen, right, and now you've got to shove it in one of the holes and then twist it back, but twist it very carefully and slowly so you don't twist it up tangled and, messed up. Make sure it's all nice and flat. Okay, and once that's done, perfect. Put the cassette back in and rewind. Adjust the game volume, or make a guess what number you need if the game's booklet doesn't even tell you, which they often didn't. Press the load key on the keyboard, which is J, followed by holding the shift button and then pressing P twice. If done correctly, the system will begin a series of long beeps, followed by short beeps, followed by screeching sounds, followed by beeps. To get the full experience, I've left the game's loading time unedited for you. I have, however, split it in YouTube though, if you wish to skip it. Eventually, it will show the game title, and then soon after it will begin to print the front cover of the game on the TV screen. If it all worked well, then it would eventually stop and music would begin. The game loaded! Huzzah! What? Ah, now I've got to do it again. Okay, tweak the volume. Fingers crossed. Almost there. Okay, tweak the volume. You know what, let's just whack it up to just under full. Not quite max, but just a little bit under. Alright, how's the plug doing? Oh, okay, the plug is getting very hot. That could be another cause for it to plunk. Yeah, as a kid, we never said that, the system crashed. We always said that it plunked. Okay, so let's wrap some ice in a towel, place it over the plug socket. It's not an electrical hazard at all, is it? Let's try again. J, Shift, PP. PP. I might go make a cup of tea while I wait. Oh! Man, again. I only knocked the keyboard a little bit. Oh, for heaven's sake. Okay, let's check everything again. Alright, everything should be fine now. It's possibly the correct volume. Cables are fine. Plug is cooling down, and I'm away from the keyboard. Is it? Will it load? Huzzah! It loaded! I've been wanting to play this for ages. No! God damn it. Obviously, I'm exaggerating a little, but on a bad day, it was a bit like pulling teeth out to get a game to load and work properly.
Did you know?
With the very first ZX Spectrum consoles released, or home computer, there were some known issues with the Sinclair power supplies. It was declared that 28,000 of them could cause electrical shocks. The fault was down to the 240 volt input track on the power pack circuit board, which ran far too close to the 6 volt output, meaning that a power spike in very humid weather could result in an electrical shock. Sinclair was quick on the ball with this though, as he had the systems recalled, fixed and restocked within 48 hours. The graphics are simple, sure, with only a few colours on display, which often splash into each other. Unsurprisingly, a lot of gamers today hate how it looks, but for me, I absolutely love it. It gives the game a very unique design, and nowadays a strong sense of nostalgia. Whenever I see a Spectrum game, or a game with a similar style, I'd become a kid again. I just love it. The music and sound effects can be very primitive though, so I agree with that. With its bleeps and its boops. Some games, they don't even have sound, leaving the game very quiet. The sound, however, did not come out of the cassette player, but out of the keyboard instead. And although it's your everyday QWERTY style keyboard, simply known for the first few keys, the Q, W, E, R, T, and Y, the keyboard itself was very confusing to use, especially if you wanted to program your own video games. That's right, if you owned a ZX Spectrum, then you had the means to design and build your own video games and programs. You just needed to understand the keyboard and how to input commands. Other YouTube creators will explain this way better than I, so if interested, I'd recommend searching other ZX Spectrum videos about how the keyboard is used, as there are multiple functions for every key. And I'm not even joking. One thing I find funny though was how TV adverts of Spectrum games would basically hide the game from you while saying how realistic and state-of-the-art it was.
Welcome to Match Day, the exciting new soccer game from Ocean. Blistering 3D action for your Spectrum computer. It's a corner. Oh, there's a scramble and this could be trouble for the keeper. It's a goal. Develop your football skills against the computer or in a challenging knockout competition. And don't miss Ocean's other Christmas blockbusters. chart-topping Daley Thompson's Decathlon, and the spectacular mega venture Gift from the Gods. Ocean, top of the league for computer software.
Sinclair's new ZX Spectrum Action Pack has a powerful 128K home computer, a joystick, 6 very different games, and a deadly accurate light gun.
Keep on running, keep on hiding, keep on running, keep on hiding.
That'll keep those droids on the run. The new Sinclair Action Pack puts the zap back into computers.
I did also find some magazine and newspaper articles. So this one, new Spectrum launch. A Spectrum with a real keyboard, as opposed to a fake one, I guess, has been released by Sinclair Research. The new Spectrum sells for £179.95p. I think this is the Spectrum Plus One. And includes a new manual with color diagrams and 6 items of software, including Tazword 2, Scrabble, Checkered Flag, and VU 3D. Sir Clive Sinclair says the product is aimed squarely at potential buyers of the Commodore 64. Market research showed people thought the Spectrum was a better computer, but preferred the Commodore 64 because of its keyboard. The decision to launch the package without advance publicity was taken because of criticism over the handling of the QL launch. We wanted to make absolutely sure the Spectrum Plus was in the shops when it was launched, says Sir Clive. Oh, that's his voice, I guess. Otherwise, nobody would have believed us. And here is a Dixon's advertising. Greatest ever computer deals. There's the Atari Price Crash and Spectrum Plus complete outfit. Comes free with 10 pack of Spectrum games worth £83.50. Comes free with the tape deck so you can play the games. I hope so, otherwise what's the point? You won't be able to play anything. Also comes with that image, makes it look like a dildo, but it's actually a joystick. £17.99. And altogether they're selling it for £139.99p. I thought this little article was interesting. They actually, the Sinclair people worked alongside Possum Controls, so they could create the Spectrum and make it usable for disabled people. So anyone with a disability was able to use the Spectrum as well. This one was a little magazine article, 170 plus Spectrum games, free post service, free catalog with our first order. And I actually took the time to calculate all of these games that are on screen, and apparently there's loads more. So all those on screen now came to the cost of £490.78p. So if you're willing to send that to them, they'll give you the catalogue and every one of those games. But I guess you'd have to spend over £500 if you want all of the games that, you know, they're giving away. And if you did buy all of those games, you could get £2 off. Oh, that's so worth it, because you got 3 or more cassettes. If you got 2 or more cassettes, you got £1 off. So if you spend over £500, they'll go, okay, we'll give you £2 off. Oh, joy. And then lastly, Saturday's Child. Saturday's Child plays hard for its living. Little girls muck out stables for pleasure? What? Manual workers spend long hours of leisure labouring in their gardens. Millionaires with no need to work at all feel deprived without a telephone at hand and an office at the other end. And children play with computers. So what, a little girl doesn't count as a child? What? Archetypal symbols of bureaucratic routine. Under the impact of technology, the concept of work is changing. It's changed before, and sometimes dramatically. But this time, the change is sensational. Steam multiplied muscle, but computers multiply thought, which is why computers affect not merely the quantity of work, but its quality. Much of the deadening drudgery we used to call work disappeared. The more information we have and the more sophisticated the use we make of it, the more exciting and effective our decisions and actions become. Information technology has a long and benign history. The computer, the telephone, the telegraph, the printing press, the invention of writing itself. All of them multiplied the immediate availability of information. All of them led to increased prosperity and universal improvement in the standard of living. Studies show, for example, that in country after country growth, that was a weird sentence, in telephones per capita is followed and matched by growth in GNP, whatever that means. Green newt porn. Oh. So followed and matched by growth in green newt porn. The effect of computers will surely be even greater. If it is, Britain will be grateful to Sinclair Research since 1980. Sinclair has been selling ZX80, ZX81, and ZX Spectrum home computers. Over 1 million of them so far. As a result, Britain has the highest number of computers per head in the world. Saturday's child in the picture is too young to grasp the distinction between work and play. For his children, the distinction may simply have disappeared. Well, I can say it hasn't. The distinction is still pretty much the same. Oh yes, and I was trying to find ZX Spectrum stuff, and I actually found the ZX81. I found a little article about it. 1K ZX81 adult games. Can of worms. Fed up with the same old 1K games? We are. Forget the kid stuff. Get stuck into our grown-up games for jaded minds, all original animated graphics, exquisite bad taste, not for the squeamish. Amazing games such as Acne. Squeeze horrible pimples before they infest your face. Uglier than sin and more satisfying. Or how about that amazing game, Royal Flush? Unblock the palace sewer successfully, or it's brown alert. And do you remember that amazing game vasectomy? At the mercy of a short-sighted drunken surgeon. Or how about the classic Hitler? Infuriate my Fuhrer. Stuff a whoopee cushion under his seat. It's a gas. That sounds like the most boring game ever. But if these games are boring, you've got smut. Limerick, prayer, poetry in motion. Smut. Is that is? Or does... I can't really read it. The image is a bit blurry. I'm saying smut is a creative writer. Use your own imagination. And then another... This one, I don't... Why is this a game? Reagan. Old Ronald dyes his hair, but the grey keeps on growing. Help him out before he starts a war. You need to dye his hair. Otherwise, he's gonna start a war and kill people because his hair's gone grey. It makes perfect sense. P's and Q's. Unbelievably pathetic. This one really does dredge the depths of bad taste. Why do they even advertise it if it's really bad? It's like, this one's crap. Play it. And then you have Dole. What is Dole? Election day looms. Unemployment and inflation rising, and your majority falling over to you. Okay, that one doesn't really tell you anything about the game. But there you go, there you have it. That's all we got time for today, so thank you for coming in and learning about the ZX Spectrum. It was a system that I grew up with, and I got a nice little fond place of the system and its games in my heart. Although I did play, after recording this, I did play some games again, and I was like, why did I like this? Some of the games I used to enjoy, I'm like, wow, this is actually not that great. But I guess as a kid, you know, you have a more open mind. You don't care. But anyway, thanks again, everyone. Thank to you, little one, as well. Remember to stay in school. Give your dad a slap on the back. Make sure you feed nuts to squirrels. And I will catch you cool cats later. Bye!